40:48, and he brought me to the porch of the house, and measured each post of the porch 5 cubits on this side, and 5 cubits on that side. And the breadth of the gate was 3 cubits on this side, and 3 cubits on that side. 40:49. The length of the porch was 20 cubits, and the breadth 11 cubits. And he brought me by the steps whereby they went up to it. And there were pillars by the posts, one on this side, and another on that side. 41:1. Afterward he brought me to the temple, and measured the posts, 6 cubits broad on the one side, and 6 cubits broad on the other side, which was the breadth of the tabernacle. 41:2. And the breadth of the door was 10 cubits, and the sides of the door were 5 cubits on the one side, and 5 cubits on the other side. And he measured the length thereof, 40 cubits, and the breadth, 20 cubits. 41:3. Then went he inward, and measured the post of the door, 2 cubits, and the door, 6 cubits, and the breadth of the door, 7 cubits. 41:4. So he measured the length thereof, 20 cubits, and the breadth, 20 cubits, before the temple. And he said unto me, This is the most holy place. 41:5. After he measured the wall of the house, 6 cubits, and the breadth of every side chamber, 4 cubits, round about the house on every side. 41:6. And the side chambers were 3, one over another, and 30 in order. And they entered into the wall which was of the house for the side chambers round about, that they might have hold, but they had not hold in the wall of the house. 41:7. And there was an enlarging, and a winding about still upward to the side chambers. For the winding about of the house went still upward round about the house. Therefore the breadth of the house was still upward, and so increased, from the lowest chamber to the highest by the midst. 41:8. I saw also the height of the house round about. The foundations of the side chambers were a full reed of 6 great cubits. 41:9. The thickness of the wall, which was for the side chamber without, was 5 cubits, and that which was left was the place of the side chambers that were within. 41:10. And between the chambers was the wideness of 20 cubits round about the house on every side. 41:11. And the doors of the side chambers were toward the place that was left, one door toward the north, and another door toward the south. And the breadth of the place that was left was 5 cubits round about. 41:12. Now the building that was before the separate place at the end toward the west was 70 cubits broad, and the wall of the building was 5 cubits thick round about, and the length thereof 90 cubits. 41:13. So he measured the house, 100 cubits long, and the separate place, and the building, with the walls thereof, 100 cubits long. 41:14. Also the breadth of the face of the house, and of the separate place toward the east, 100 cubits. 41:15. And he measured the length of the building over against the separate place which was behind it, and the galleries thereof on the one side and on the other side, 100 cubits, with the inner temple, and the porches of the court. 41:16. The door posts, and the narrow windows, and the galleries round about on their 3 stories, over against the door, killed with wood round about, and from the ground up to the windows, and the windows were covered. 41:17. To that above the door, even unto the inner house, and without, and by all the wall round about within and without, by measure. 41:18. And it was made with cherubims and palm trees, so that a palm tree was between a cherub and a cherub, and every cherub had 2 faces. 41:19. So that the face of a man was toward the palm tree on the one side, and the face of a young lion toward the palm tree on the other side. It was made through all the house round about. 41:20. From the ground unto above the door were cherubims and palm trees made, and on the wall of the temple. 41:21. The posts of the temple were squared, and the face of the sanctuary, the appearance of the one as the appearance of the other. 41:22. The altar of wood was 3 cubits high, and the length thereof 2 cubits, and the corners thereof, and the length thereof, and the walls thereof, were of wood. And he said unto me, This is the table that is before the Lord. 41:23. And the temple and the sanctuary had 2 doors. 41:24. And the doors had 2 leaves, apiece, 2 turning leaves, 2 leaves for the one door, and 2 leaves for the other door. 41:25. And there were made on them, on the doors of the temple, cherubims and palm trees, like as were made upon the walls, and there were thick planks upon the face of the porch without. 41:26. And there were narrow windows and palm trees on the one side and on the other side, on the sides of the porch, and upon the side chambers of the house, and thick planks. 42:1. Then he brought me forth into the utter court, the way toward the north, and he brought me into the chamber that was over against the separate place, and which was before the building toward the north. 42:2. Before the length of 100 cubits was the north door, and the breadth was 50 cubits. 42:3. Over against the 20 cubits, which were for the inner court, and over against the pavement which was for the utter court, was gallery against gallery in 3 stories. 42:4. And before the chambers was a walk of 10 cubits breadth inward, a way of 1 cubit, and their doors toward the north. 42:5. Now the upper chambers were shorter, for the galleries were higher than these, than the lower, and than the middlemost of the building. 42:6. For they were in 3 stories, but had not pillars as the pillars of the courts. Therefore, the building was straitened more than the lowest and the middlemost from the ground. 42:7. And the wall that was without over against the chambers, toward the utter court on the forepart of the chambers, the length thereof was 50 cubits. 42:8. For the length of the chambers that were in the utter court was 50 cubits, and, lo, before the temple were 100 cubits. 42:9. And from under these chambers was the entry on the east side, as one goeth into them from the utter court. 42:10. The chambers were in the thickness of the wall of the court toward the east, over against the separate place, and over against the building. 42:11. And the way before them was like the appearance of the chambers which were toward the north, as long as they, and as broad as they, and all their goings out were both according to their fashions, and according to their doors. 42:12. And according to the doors of the chambers that were toward the south was a door in the head of the way, even the way directly before the wall toward the east, as one entereth into them. 42:13. Then said he unto me, The north chambers, and the south chambers, which are before the separate place, they be holy chambers, where the priests that approach unto the Lord shall eat the most holy things. There shall they lay the most holy things, and the meat offering, and the sin offering, and the trespass offering, for the place is holy. 42:14. When the priests enter therein, then shall they not go out of the holy place into the utter court, but there they shall lay their garments wherein they minister, for they are holy, and shall put on other garments, and shall approach to those things which are for the people. 42:15. Now when he had made an end of measuring the inner house, he brought me forth toward the gate whose prospect is toward the east, and measured it round about. 42:16. He measured the east side with the measuring reed, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed round about. 42:17. He measured the north side, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed round about. 42:18. He measured the south side, 500 reeds, with the measuring reed. 42:19. He turned about to the west side, and measured 500 reeds with the measuring reed. 42:20. He measured it by the 4 sides. It had a wall round about, 500 reeds long, and 500 broad, to make a separation between the sanctuary and the profane place.